Isn't it confusing when you look at all these types of supplements and what's right to buy, what's wrong to buy, what's better, what's not as good, etc.? Many times, experts who have big academic backgrounds can sort of talk over our heads or maybe even make it a little bit more confusing. I liked my interview with Jonathan Hunsaker because we had a very simplified version of sort of the ascension of supplementation. Here's kind of the basic level, here's the next level up, from there, from there, from there. I found his model to be something that I could easily understand and wrap my head around so I can make better decisions. Really excited to share this interview with you. So Jonathan, thanks for taking this time, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
So you've got an interesting background and have been involved in a lot of different things. I maybe would call you an entrepreneur that has had multiple experiences in your career. What got you into doing what you're doing now?
Where to start? So let me be really clear. I'm not a doctor, not a scientist, not an academic. I'm actually a high school dropout.
Mm-hmm.
But I dropped out of high school to start my first business when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 24 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a lot of business ventures. I've learned a lot. One of the things I've gotten really good at is problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are, is they're just problem solvers.
Right.
And so in 2014, I had been in internet marketing for a while. I was really good at just getting masses of people motivated
Mm-hmm.
for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was introduced to a gentleman, Ty Bollinger,
Mm-hmm.
and we started a project called The Truth About Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a phenomenal project. We were going to bring a lot of awareness to cancer, healing cancer, alternative treatments to cancer, different things like that. It was at that exact same time that I found out my girlfriend was pregnant with our oldest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes like life just comes and slaps you in the face all at once, right? And it was a wake-up call for me. I was 265 pounds. I was smoking over a pack of cigarettes a day.
Wow.
I was drinking 6-7 nights a week. I mean, I was really neglecting my health. I was very smart business-wise. I was still a good entrepreneur, but in terms of my personal health, it was really on the decline. So everything came together at that one time. It was like, I'm about to be a father. I've been given an opportunity. Do I want to partner up on this business venture to bring awareness to alternative health treatments and things like that? And so when I jumped and went all in, I mean, that's where everything started. So we started creating documentaries. I started learning a ton about health. And I mean, you have to keep in mind, I mean, I'm just like everybody else out there. So I was living very unhealthy, but I was listening to the doctors. I was listening to the scientists that we were interviewing. I was watching our documentaries right alongside the people that we were making them for and learning and implementing it. And so, I mean, that's really kind of my journey. That's what started my health journey in 2014. What was really interesting is in 2016, there was a recurring theme that kept coming up, and that was supplementation. What kind of supplements should we take? What supplements are healthy? We kept hearing the doctors talk about it, the scientists talk about it. We had a lot of people that were emailing us, what do you take? And that started me down the rabbit hole of supplements. And so I started looking into supplements. We started thinking, who can we recommend? Who can we refer? Started talking to other scientists. And before you know it, there weren't a whole lot that were worthy of our recommendation. And as we went down the rabbit hole even deeper, it just opened up a whole can of worms to the point to where we felt the best thing that we could do was create our own supplement line and actually hire our own doctors, hire our own formulators, and create the supplements that we wanted to take based off of all the knowledge that we learned that wasn't already out there on the market.
What were the things that you found that you said, hey, I don't like this about certain supplements? So if I'm watching this right now and I'm trying to choose supplements that are out there, you know, what are the things, I guess let's start with what don't you want? What kind of things are you trying to avoid?
Absolutely. So let's kind of create a hierarchy of supplements, of probably the least expensive and least effective up to the probably most expensive and most effective of supplements. Right. So at the very bottom, you have your synthetics. These are the one-a-days that you find in your local grocery store, the ones you see commercials being run, seeing commercials on TV, they're running ads for them. They're all made from synthetic ingredients. And so your body does not recognize them. It's not very bioavailable. A lot of times it passes right through you. One of the good ways to determine are you actually absorbing the nutrients in that supplement is what's the color of your urine afterwards. If it's that bright yellow, it's all just passing through you. Your body is not.
So that's not a sign, wow, look, there's really something in here. It's a sign that, wow, it's not getting absorbed.
Exactly.
Okay.
That your body's not using it. And so in the industry, we talk about bioavailability.
Right.
So, and that's what that is. How much of it is being absorbed and used by your body. So at the very low level, you have your synthetics.
Right.
Up above that, you're going to have a whole food supplement. A whole food supplement is great. I mean, it's taken from a mushroom that's just been dried out and concentrated and put into a capsule, and now you're getting a high dose of that mushroom. It's great because it's whole food. Your body can recognize it. There's not a whole lot of allergens and things like that come with it, unless you're allergic to mushrooms already.
Right.
So there's nothing synthetic there. You have your whole food. To go a step above whole food, you want to do an organic whole food supplement. It's really important to think about organic versus not organic when it comes to your supplements, because if it's not organic, that means it's been sprayed with pesticides and herbicides and insecticides, which we all know is poison. We've seen all the lawsuits that are coming out now against glyphosate and Roundup and all of that. Well, when you're drying out that herb or that plant to make it into a supplement, it's not washing off this insecticide, right? Or this herbicide or this pesticide. So you're getting high doses now of these poisons with this supplement that you thought you were taking to make you healthy, right? So you have synthetic, then you have whole food, then whole food organic. Then the step up above that would be a fermented or sprouted ingredient. So when you ferment it, it already starts the breakdown process of it. The enzymes are already breaking down that food, which makes it easier for your body to digest, makes it easier for your body to absorb and use. Same thing with sprouted. If you're using a supplement that has seeds in it and you sprout it, it opens up a whole plethora of nutrients that aren't available in the seed form. So again, you want to go up to organic, sprouted, fermented is really the top of the level. Now there's other different things you can put in there like fulvic acid, humic acid, different things like that that may help with the delivery. The verdict is still, out on that, if that's really going to make a big difference or not. But synthetic, whole food organic, fermented, and sprouted is really the top level.
And I have to imagine that it's more expensive as you're going up that hierarchy, right? The cost increase to get them to that level.
It is, and you have to, just like your organic food when you go shopping, right? It costs a little bit more. The good news is the cost is going down, right? The more people that are aware of organic and the benefits of it, the more farmers that we have creating those ingredients organic, and then it's dropping the price.
Right.
In life, you get what you pay for. It's just plain and simple. And so, yes, is it $5 more for that bottle of turmeric that's organic and that's fermented? Is that worth it? Absolutely, right? Because your body's going to use that much more. But you'll have to take, let's say it's a 5% increase in price, your body's going to use 25, 30, 40% more than that cheaper version. So in the long run, it's actually cheaper because you don't have to take as much of that supplement to get the same effect.
I like that you have kind of a consumer context, and it's important for to have that context because consumers get really confused around these things. I think the hierarchy's pretty easy. And I guess one of the questions I'd have is, anywhere on the hierarchy has some benefit. You're just increasing the benefit as you're moving up.
Absolutely. I mean, you can take a synthetic one a day and you'll absorb some of it, right? Not a whole lot, but you'll get a little something. But if you compare it dollar for dollar and you spend $30 on this one a day multivitamin, right, that's a synthetic, versus $40 on a whole food, you're going to absorb a whole lot more from that whole food one, right? So I think that's the part that gets lost a lot of times is, oh, well, that's just really expensive, $50 for a bottle of supplements. I can't pay that, right? But if you take that $30 bottle, you're not getting anywhere near the benefit as you would from that $50 one. And it's actually cheaper per dose because you have to take a whole handful of these to even get a fraction of what you get.
I was just about to say, I mean, logic would say that I'm better off buying the $40 supplement and taking it every other day. I'm going to end up with more nutrients in my body than if I buy the one and take it every day.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of an interesting context too, as you're saying it's the cost versus the benefit. So so that's an interesting point because it's actually cheaper from the cost benefit standpoint to invest more than it is to spend the money on the stuff that has some benefit but very little.
And it's interesting how you say skip a day, right? So maybe take that 1 month supply and turn it into a 2 month supply.
Right.
Right now that $40 bottle is $20 per month.
That's right.
Which is $10 cheaper than the synthetic.
Exactly.
Right. But you're going to get more benefit from the every other day. Yeah. And it gets substantially higher as you go up. I mean, if you talk about fermented and sprouted ingredients, the bioavailability makes a big difference. Your body being able to use it. Right. What's the point of it having a nutritional fact of 1,500% of your daily value that you need if you're not absorbing but 2% of that,
Yep.
right? I'd rather have one that says 200% and I absorb 100% of that, right?
And another very interesting point is exactly that, saying, oh, look, this is, X percent of the daily recommend. But that's not based on what you absorb. That's based on just how much is in there. And the synthetic stuff is not going to be absorbed to a point, like you're not absorbing all that and getting the full 1,500% of the RDA, for example.
Exactly. And that's the challenge when you're reading labels, right? Because it's very easy. Okay, well, let me compare the two based off of the daily value that they're going to give me. Well, that synthetic is going to show 1,500 and 2,000 and 2,500 of vitamin C, right? And all of these other things. You think this is a phenomenal supplement, but your body's not using any of it.
Yeah.
So it's pointless. It will literally end up in the toilet, and you'll see it.
So how much can we trust the labels, in your opinion? We go there and so there's one aspect saying here's the quantities of the varying supplements that are in here, but then there's also this is represented as whole foods, this is represented as organic, this is represented as fermented. Do you think, as a general rule, a consumer can trust the labels they're reading in these realms?
They can when you're reading the actual ingredients, right? So the daily value it's a little challenging because it's misleading, like we talked about with the synthetics.
Right.
As long as we're comparing apples to apples. So if you're holding up a whole food organic next to another whole food organic, now you can compare the daily values and see which one has more versus the other one. But then also actually reading the ingredients. Does it say that it's organic? Does it say that it's fermented?
Right.
And that's where you're going to start seeing a big difference. When we were creating one of our most popular supplements, it's a turmeric supplement. When we were looking at different manufacturers, we had some that said, hey, we can make this for you for $2 a bottle if you don't ferment it, if you don't use organic, if you don't use ginger, if you don't add all of these things in here, we can make it for $2 a bottle. But then we would be like every other product on Amazon, selling for $30. It's kind of useless, right?
Right.
And so
that's a part of my question is okay, I'm in a store, I'm in Whole Foods. I'm looking at different things, I'm seeing how it's labeled, and I imagine they have some sort of vetting for what they're putting on their shelves. I imagine, I can't say for sure. When I'm in Amazon, which owns Whole Foods, then it's a wild, wild west sort of like, wow, look at all this stuff, and then you try to you can read ratings and how people, what they're saying about it, how many stars they have, how many reviews they have. But now it's a little bit of the wild, wild west where I'm trying to pull up labels on my screen and read down them, etc. Can I trust that if they're saying this is an organic supplement on the label that it probably is?
Yes, if it specifically says organic in front of that ingredient, right? So the things you want to avoid is natural, right? So if it says natural this or that, natural means absolutely nothing. Clean, pure, these words mean absolutely nothing.
They're just generic, meaningless words.
Exactly. And then there needs to be a certifying body that actually certifies it organic or not. So you can look on the label and it'll say certified organic by a certain company out there. NOFA is one. There's plenty of them out there. So one, look and make sure it says organic, and then two, make sure there is a logo of the certifying body. And that means that they've looked at it, they've gone through it, they've approved that label, and it's a truly legitimate label.
Yeah, and the FDA has their organic indicia also, right?
You have USDA certified organic.
Yeah.
The challenge with USDA certified organic is it needs to be 95% or more organic. The capsule itself makes up 7% of the product.
Oh.
So there's no organic capsules out just yet. So we have many problems or many products that are all organic, 100% organic ingredients. We can't put the USDA certified organic on there yet because it makes up 93% of the overall product. So you'll see on our ingredients though, it will say organic every ingredient, and then it'll show that it's certified.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize because it's so that those are the breakpoints and capsules. There's no organic capsules.
But not yet. There's some that are waiting to be approved, but this has been the conversation for a couple years now, and it's still waiting to be approved as USDA certified.
That's an interesting nuance I haven't heard before. So that kind of adds to the intrigue of this whole thing.
Absolutely. Now, one thing you can find is you can find tablets, right? So the difference between a capsule is the ingredients are powder form. They're inside of, a vegetarian capsule, right? That encapsulates it. It dissolves once it's in your stomach.
Right.
Then you have a tablet, which is really compressed together. The challenge is the bioavailability between a tablet and a capsule, right? And so you can get USDA certified organic tablets, but just that whole manufacturing process.
They don't break down as well?
Yeah, they don't break down as well. Your body doesn't use it as well. So that can say USDA certified organic. But again, we're talking bioavailability, and it's why we generally go towards either capsules or liquid.
So, and I guess liquid would be easier to get organic because it's liquid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, as far as the USDA is concerned. So there's so many different people promulgating, advocating, this is the new greatest supplement, you know, and this is why, turmeric, you know, being one, and others. What do you think that are legitimately foundational supplements that people need to take that are not fads?
A multivitamin, daily multivitamin, hands down, would be the top recommendation. If you're only going to take one, take a good multivitamin. It's likely going to be several capsules, right, to get enough nutrients in there. The reason being, listen, a supplement is not going to cure you. It's not going to fix you. It's just to supplement your diet, right? What are these ingredients? What are these nutrients, these vitamins, these minerals, these things that you're not getting in your regular diet? Let me take it with a supplement to make sure I get it because my body needs it.
Right.
Well, even if you eat an organic, plant-based diet, you're still not going to get all the nutrients your body needs for the simple fact that we've over-farmed our farmland. And so the soil is not as nutrient dense. And so the vegetables and the plants that come out of it are not as nutrient dense. So even if you're organic and you have this great diet, still a multivitamin to me is hands down the number one thing to take, just to help get your body back in balance. The challenge with the multivitamin, the challenge with a lot of supplements is people want to feel an effect. Like I just took 3 capsules, what am I going to feel? You may not feel anything, right? The difference though is take it for 3 months and then stop taking it.
Yeah.
And you may see how you feel now by not taking it. Sometimes it takes time. It takes time for your body to adjust to getting all of these new nutrients. Sometimes, I mean, just taking a little capsule that has some extra vitamins that you haven't been getting one time isn't going to go in there and just fix you all of a sudden.
Right.
But taking it for 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, to where you're actually building it up and now your body is using it on a regular basis and it's helping fix those areas that were deprived before, that's when you can start seeing a difference. But the difference may happen so gradually that you don't even know.
Right.
So hands down, multivitamin. A turmeric supplement, absolutely.
Why turmeric? What are the properties that are important?
So it's curcumin, which is the active ingredient inside of turmeric, and it's just the anti-inflammatory properties. And so inflammation comes from a lot of different things. One of the biggest things we see inflammation coming from is stress. We're all overstressed. We all work too much. We don't rest enough. You know, even when we watch TV, we're overstimulated and stressed, right? And so this inflammation is the root cause of a lot of different diseases. So anything that really helps with inflammation, I think, is beneficial. This is a challenge, though, too, with finding a good turmeric supplement. I advocate for a fermented turmeric because, as we talked about before, it's more bioavailable. There's a trend out right now with having a turmeric that's mixed with biopepperine or bioprine or black pepper, and it makes it 2,000% more, bioavailable. It does because it's inflaming your gut, right? And so it's causing inflammation in your gut, which makes it more easily absorbed. It gets into your bloodstream better. That's great if you need to take turmeric or curcumin for a week. But if you want to take it every single day, having that black pepper, that inflammatory in your gut, I personally don't think is the way to go. I think stick with a clean turmeric that's organic, that's fermented, and I think you're going to get a lot of benefits that way.
It's kind of contradictory, isn't it? Saying, hey, you take this because it reduces inflammation, but we're going to create inflammation for you to absorb. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It is weird. And there's studies out there that back up, say, hey, you absorb this much more. And so that's where, you asked a question earlier, can I trust what's on the label? And I think sometimes you have to trust the company as well, right? So you can look at the label and it all seems wonderful. Do a quick Google search on the company maybe, or find out more about what is it, go to the company's website. So what are their best practices? What do they stand for? You know what I mean? What are their core values? And sometimes you just have to dig a little bit deeper. Otherwise it is the Wild West and you'll end up down tons of rabbit holes and not know where to stop, where to start, and it all just starts blurring together after a while.
So you got turmeric, you got a multivitamin, any other things that you think are staples?
So Collagen, I think collagen is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
A clean collagen makes a difference. A multi-collagen. So collagen makes up 70% of the proteins in our body. And so it's like the glue that holds it together. And we start making less collagen. We start producing less collagen from about the age 20 to 25. And it starts dropping by 1% per year.
Wow.
So by the time you're 40, you're making 15 to 20% less collagen producing it than you were when you were 20, 25 years old. Well, that's why my skin is sagging, right? That's why we start having other problems. Our joints start hurting. So using a collagen supplement is a no-brainer, in my opinion, to really help make up for what your body is not producing on its own. So the older you get, the more important I think it is to take a collagen supplement. The thing with a collagen supplement also is, do you have adequate vitamin C? So in order for your body to produce collagen, you need to have enough vitamin C to even produce it. Well, it's the same thing with absorbing it. If you're deficient in vitamin C and you're taking a collagen supplement, it does nothing for you. Your body's not going to be able to use it the same way. So I suggest either a collagen supplement that has vitamin C in it already, or making sure that you're getting adequate vitamin C with your collagen supplement.
So yeah, that's interesting, the kind of the synergies between varying supplements, right? Because it could be, hey, I'm getting this, but a lot of times there's codependencies like you're describing between collagen and vitamin C. And I imagine you really need smart formulators that understand the biochemistry to be able to make sure that things are there. It's like D3 and K2 is probably similar in that respect, and other such things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's where you can start making up on your price point as well, right? So if I buy a cheap collagen and a cheap vitamin C, it's going to be the same amount as buying a higher quality collagen that already has vitamin C in it.
Right.
Right. And now you're not having to take two cheaper supplements that are probably cheaply made and cheaper ingredients and all of that. Right. The same comes true with other blends, right? So speaking from our own brand, our turmeric also has ginger in it because they're synergistic. They're in the same family. Ginger helps the absorption of turmeric, and it has its own anti-inflammatory properties. Right. We also have ashwagandha that's mixed in there. Vitamin D is in there. We have mushrooms in there as well for the fermentation. So you can do blends of a high quality supplement, and that'll help save, because if you were to buy them all individually, now you're talking $100, $150.
Right.
Right. But if blended together, high quality, it costs you $50. Maybe it's $5 more than the next cheaper one. But the benefits are 10x what you would get.
Yeah, so blends, it's interesting. So blends can actually save you money because you are getting things in one place rather than have to get them from multiple places. That's an interesting strategy for a consumer to understand. And I guess, very often, there's so much to know. Listen, I studied this stuff in school. I've spoken to a lot of really smart people, who this is their careers, they're in this. And, it's still hard to keep it all in your head and remember what works with what. And I think that's back to maybe going to the website, because typically I have to imagine a company is going to kind of give you their philosophy and premises behind a blend that they've made, why they put these things together and what it means to you. So I guess for the consumer, they have to take some responsibility for reading the stuff, understanding it, and deciding what's right for them.
You have to, right? We have to start taking a little bit more responsibility as consumers. And there's no lack of information, right? There's an abundance of information. Sometimes that's the challenge. But yes, the blends make a big difference. Go search out the website, see what the company stands for, see why they're doing these blends. It can save you money in several ways. It's not that you're going to get 3 or 4 or 5 supplements all in one, but the main ingredient may be absorbed that much more and used more because of the other ingredients that are included in that supplement. Right? So there's a few different ways you can look at the blends. One is, now I don't need to buy a ginger, I don't need to buy a turmeric, I don't need to buy a vitamin D, I don't need to buy an ashwagandha. Right. But you can also look at, the ashwagandha, the ginger, the fermented, the mushrooms in there make the turmeric more bioavailable, right, and it delivers it to your body better. So now you're getting even more benefit from that main ingredient.
One of the interesting things that, and maybe you could speak this from your personal experience, is that people get into this, they want to turn their lives around. They're struggling with health problems, and they decided it's time to move forward. You started to say that, you used to smoke a lot of cigarettes on a daily basis. Your weight was not where it should be. You probably weren't exercising so much.
Nope.
Yet you kind of turned this all around and got on a regimen and new routines. And it seems like you haven't turned back. In other words, that you're on this track now. This is the new you, new identity. So what advice would you give to people who are, trying to overcome themselves? Saying I've been bad for for a while and I want to turn this around.
Yeah, it's a great question. It doesn't happen overnight, right? And so it's a gradual process. So the first thing is figure out your why, right? So I had a couple whys. My why was my daughter was going to be born. I wasn't going to be a fat dad that couldn't get off the couch and play with her.
Right.
My other why is I wasn't going to be a hypocrite, right? I wasn't going to release documentaries about living a healthy lifestyle, and especially ones around cancer, and I smoke and I'm unhealthy, right? And then the third why was for me, right? I'm just generally happier in the state of my body now versus what it was before. So you got to find your why. The second thing is take time, right? It's not going to happen overnight. If it happens overnight, the chances of going back overnight are that much easier and that much greater, right? So if you're on a weight loss journey and it takes you a year to lose 30 pounds, there's a lot higher likelihood that 30 pounds stays off for the next 10 years than going on, some crash diet, keto diet, watermelon diet, whatever diet, and you lose 30 pounds in a month, right? And all of a sudden I've lost my 30 pounds. In 2 months, that 30 pounds is right back on because you haven't made the lifestyle changes that it takes over a year's time to consistently lose the weight.
Right.
It's the same thing too with supplements. We never recommend, don't just go out there and just buy 10 new supplements and start eating handfuls of supplements and all of a sudden you're gonna have tons of energy and grow huge muscles like Arnold and all of this, right? It's not going to happen, but start slow. And there's a few reasons to start slow too, is find out what works for you and what doesn't, right? And you want something that's going to be consistent. So how many times do we go out there and we try to tackle everything at once? I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start running. I'm going to eat only salads. I'm going to take 10 supplements every day, right? I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to sleep 8 hours a night. A week later, we've lost all of that willpower. And has any of it stuck?
Right.
Likely not. It's kind of the same thing with anything, even supplements. Just start small. Start with a multivitamin. Get consistent with that. Take that for a few months to where not a day goes by that you miss your multivitamin, right? And then combine that with other healthy habits. And as you continue to get healthier and healthier, it gets easier and easier to add in some more supplements, add in more exercise, add in some better eating habits, add in better sleeping habits. All of those things are better progressively than all at once.
So basically, and I think it's really good advice, is build a little momentum, steps at a time, and then let it carry you as compared to, jumping off the cliff and then, climbing back up.
Absolutely. And the one caveat I'll put there is, what's the biggest thing that's holding you back? And tackle that first. For me, it was smoking, right? I'd smoked for 20 years. And it was kind of like, eating healthy, sure, I could take that on. Sure, I could go exercise. I could do all these things, but I'm still smoking. So I'm kind of on the fence about do you do little changes, over time, or do you find that really big one thing? So what I don't advocate is trying to change 10 things at once. I do advocate for changing the one biggest thing first. And for me, that was smoking. Because once I conquered that, everything else was conquerable because I was now a non-smoker.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question to ask yourself. What's the biggest leverage point for me? Right?
Yeah.
It might not be the easiest.
Right.
It's just the biggest. And obviously, if you're smoking, none of the other stuff really matters too much. You got to get that handled first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we close, anything else you want to say?
So we have to be responsible as a consumer. We need to do the research. And what I want to encourage people is not to fall into the hype of the marketing. A lot of supplement companies are phenomenal marketers and they make these huge, bold promises and they'll do this and they'll do that. And if it seems too good to be true, it likely is, right? So be smart and trust your gut and back away from, this company that makes tons of these claims and you're going to do all of this stuff to what's the reality. The reality is it's a supplement. It's a small part of your health journey. It's going to help, yes, but it's not going to fix everything. And if they're out there promising that it's going to make all these big, phenomenal changes, you're going to be left disappointed and, have less money than you did when you started. And that's when we went down the rabbit hole. I mean, that's what was very interesting is how dollar-driven everything was. And everything was all about margins and everything was all about how cheaply can I make it and then how good can I sell it. And so I just want to really reiterate the fact that do the research on the company, figure out what they stand for, read the labels, make sure it really does say organic, make sure it's a certifying body, make sure it all makes sense, make sure they're not, claiming that you're going to grow an extra foot or you're going to lose 80 pounds in a month, right? Any of these crazy claims, because they're out there and we all read them and we fall into it because we're desperate. We want to get healthier. We want something to have.
We want to believe them.
We want to believe them. And so I just want to throw caution out there to do your research and then start small, and you will see the benefits that you want. You will get benefits from supplementation. Just be smart about it.
Well, Jonathan, a lot of really good, useful, practical stuff here. The hierarchy, of supplements from, synthetics all the way up to organic fermented supplements, really good. The idea of blends, I think, is something that is really good for a consumer to understand. How to break old habits or how to create new, healthier habits, which you have personal experience with. So I think these things really do, come together to kind of give somebody good framework from which to try to figure out how to take this wacky, crazy, confusing world of supplements and narrow it down and say, here's how I can make it work for me. So thanks so much for sharing all that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
There's power in simplicity. I was really happy that we can identify these easy categories to put supplements in and make decisions about what it is that we want to buy and why we want to buy it. Thanks for watching this interview.